I raised my daughter for 15 years before I found out that my wife had cheated on me and I wasn't her biological father. 4 years have passed, and I thought I had already moved on, but recently I realized I haven't. I need advice that I've been reading this forum for a long time, hoping that reading other people's stories would help me or that I'd find someone in a similar situation and see how they dealt with it. But it seems my case is unique. Let me say right away, I don't care if you think this is fake. I don't care if you judge me. Once I speak it out loud, it's already happened that I thought I had dealt with it. I thought I had processed it. But after last weekend, all the rage I felt back then came crashing down again. Even though I returned home to my fiancé, the anger toward my ex-wife hasn't gone away. That I spent years in anger management because of what she did, because of the whole situation. I thought I was past it. I'm 39 now. I was 18 when I met my ex, Marisol.at the time. I was part of a gang called the Elting Kings. I joined when I was 13 and was constantly in trouble. Marisol was a religious girl. My grandmother dragged me to Sunday service, and when I saw her, it was love at first sight. That I begged my cousin, who was a friend, to introduce us. But he refused. He didn't want me involved with her. He didn't want me to ruin her. Have you ever met someone who made you want to be a better man? Made you want to walk the right path? That's what she was to me. When I found out she went to church almost every day, I started waiting for her by the steps, talking to her, walking her there and back. With her, I felt like I wasn't useless. Eventually, we started dating, and for a year and a half I stayed out of gang life. I graduated high school, started going to church regularly, and began thinking about the future. But I got dragged back in point one day. I was in a store and ran into a guy I used to have problems with. He started talking trash, and I tried not to react. I swear, I just walked away. But then he shoved me from behind, and I lost control. I beat him badly that I got arrested. And suddenly, everything I had done to become better vanished. Marisol was furious. My grandmother brought up all my past mistakes again. And my cousin said he always knew I wouldn't change. My public defender saw I was trying to change and, somehow, managed to get me released after a month in solitary, despite her anger. Marisol visited me almost every day. A month after I got out, I found out I was going to be a father. I didn't want my child growing up with a father who was either dead or imprisoned. We ran away and got married. I enrolled in a vocational school to become a mechanic and worked hard for our family's future. When Luna was born, it was one of the worst days of my life. Marisol wouldn't stop bleeding. She went into shock, and doctors had to perform a hysterectomy. She spent months in the hospital, and Luna became my whole world. I wanted to give her the best life possible. I wanted to give her the entire world. When Marisol came home from the hospital, I swore our daughter would live a better life than we ever had. And for many years, I kept that promise. That I saved up enough to move to the suburbs, bought a house, got Luna into a private school, taught her how to stand up for herself, always tried to be the perfect husband. That I never knew my own parents. I had no positive male role models. I didn't know what a healthy family should look like, well, except from movies and TV shows. Those dads, those marriages, that's what I tried to imitate. Years went by. I had my own garage. My cousin became a pastor. My grandma still nagged me. And my marriage with Marisol was stronger than ever. That I stayed in shape. But Luna started to hate me. Since she was 13, she just hated me. She didn't want me to hug her. She rolled her eyes when I told her I loved her. She ignored me when I asked how school went. That IT broke my heart. And Marisol saw it. She said Luna was just a teenager, and I needed to wait it out. She'd come back around. That went on for 2 years. So, for her quinceañera, the 15th birthday celebration in Latin American cultures, I wanted to throw her the best party ever. That I gave Luna everything she wanted. But she was still rude to me. For a moment, the old me almost came out, ready to put her in her place. But instead, I went to my cousin, told him my doubts, that maybe I was a bad father. He told me to leave her alone and prayed for me. That I wanted to make a slideshow for the father-daughter dance. I gathered tons of photos of us together, but realized I didn't have any recent ones. She hadn't wanted to take pictures with me for years. The last ones where we were both smiling were from her 13th birthday, and they were stored on her broken tablet. That I took it to get repaired and didn't spare any expense. I needed that tablet fixed. The tech fixed it for $300. I was thrilled. I knew her password, but I had never invaded her privacy. That I only needed those pictures. When I opened the gallery, there they were. My little girl, smiling, happy, next to me. I felt relief, but then the messages popped up that it was a long conversation between my daughter and my wife, talking about how she didn't want to dance with me. That hurt. But I tried not to take it personally. My wife told me again, teenager stuff. And then I read something that destroyed me. Luna wrote, "Why should I even dance with him? He's not even my real dad." I felt my heart stop. My vision darkened. My mouth went dry. I had to sit down. My wife replied that I had raised her, that I loved her, and that made me her father, but Luna wrote that her real dad was my cousin. And she couldn't wait until she turned 18 to tell me the truth and move in with him. She wrote that she hated me, that she thanked God I wasn't her father. Marisol started scolding her, said my cousin had made a mistake by telling her the truth. 2 years ago, the longer I read their messages, the more the rage boiled in me. My wife lied to me for 15 years. My cousin, someone I trusted. Someone I confided in about my fears of being a bad father. Not only slept with my wife but let me raise his child. I wanted to hurt them. I felt everything at once. Rage, grief, despair. I wanted to scream, cry, and die, all at once. If that makes any sense. I went silent. To stop myself from doing something stupid, I told Marisol I needed to focus on work to pay for our daughter's celebration. But instead, I drove to Manhattan to see my old public defender. He wasn't a public attorney anymore. Now he ran a high-end law firm in Midtown. He was surprised to see me. Apparently, I was his first case back in the day. We sat down, and I told him everything. I handed him the tablet. When he turned it on, the messages kept coming. This time between Luna and my cousin, her biological father. He was begging her to give me a chance, saying I'd always been there for her. But Luna replied that so had he, and now everything would be as it should, that they had so much in common. She called him Dad several times, and he told her she was his little girl. That we started discussing options, and he asked me, "What do you want?" I told him I wanted scorched earth. I wanted to destroy them. He asked multiple times if I was sure. I nodded. I also said everything had to be in place by Luna's 15th birthday, which was in 2 weeks. We sat for 12 hours planning every step. I followed his instructions to the letter. I secretly listed my business for sale, called the private school and told them I wouldn't be paying for the next year, closed the college fund, and emptied every savings account I had for Luna. I prepared the house for sale. No one suspected a thing. Everything was executed perfectly, except for one thing I did off script. The party went flawlessly. The whole family was there. Luna was smiling, having fun. Marisol kept asking if I was okay, and I lied. It was hard to lie to her. I had never done that since we met. And for those 2 weeks, every time I kissed or hugged her, it was hard not to scream at her, not to hate her. She knowingly let me raise someone else's child. She slept with my cousin, the man I considered a brother, the godfather of my child, my best man at my wedding, my confidant. So holding back my rage was unbearable. When it came time for the father-daughter dance, I called Luna to the center of the room. She looked annoyed but came up anyway. The music started, and she smiled. That smile, the one I had dreamed of seeing again for years. Now I couldn't even look at it. While we danced, a slideshow played on the screen, pictures of us together, but at the end of the song, the slideshow shifted to screenshots of her conversations with her mother and biological father. It exploded like a bomb. Marisol went pale, like she'd seen a ghost. Luna froze, staring at the giant screen. My cousin looked at me in horror. Marisol ran up to me, saying she could explain. I told her I filed for divorce. Let her explain it in court. She grabbed my hand, begging. I pulled away. I told Luna that I had busted my ass my whole life to give her everything, and she didn't deserve any of it. I turned to leave, but not before telling my cousin that every time I saw him, I'd knock him out. Then I punched him in the face. The consequences were harsh. Marisol and Luna moved in with my grandmother. Marisol's family was shocked and disgusted by her. No one wanted to speak to her. Her father even apologized to me, which was weird, because he always hated me. Even when I turned my life around. To him, I was always trash. But now, when the truth came out, suddenly I was the perfect husband and father. My grandmother had the nerve to tell me a story about Abraham, who returned from war after 3 years and raised a child that wasn't his as his own. She said I should do the same. I told her to get the hell out of my house. A few days later, Marisol came to my door, crying. She said it was a mistake, that when I got arrested, She was furious, and my cousin was just there to comfort her. One thing led to another, but it was only one time. After that, she had been faithful. She said she was willing to take a polygraph to prove it. I asked her how long she'd known Luna wasn't mine. She cried even harder. Her eyes said it all. She knew from the beginning that I told her to leave. She begged to go to family therapy. Said I was overreacting. That we could fix it. That it was all in the past. That I was still Luna's father. No matter what, did I let my anger take over. I must have screamed, "Get over it," 20 times. I threw her things out of the house. Called her a lying whore. Said I never wanted to see her face again. Told her the life I built no longer belonged to her. Then shoved her out the door weeks past. She wouldn't stop calling. But Luna, not once. Marisol was shocked when she found out I had sold the business. Even more shocked when she learned I had held an open house for the sale of our home. She burst in, screaming, kicked out the potential buyers, and begged me to stop. Said I was destroying our marriage. That I had no right to sell our house, the house where we raised our child. That I told her it was a house full of lies. A house where I raised someone else's kid. And that when I sold it, she'd get her share, then she could leave. Otherwise, I'd call the cops. That was all it took. She knew if she played the victim, they'd take me away. But she didn't. She just gave in. Shortly after, my cousin came to talk. I knocked him out, dragged him out the door, and slammed it shut. He tried to negotiate. Marisol wanted to save the marriage. But I didn't. I wanted a divorce. My lawyer filed for an expedited trial. 3 months later, we were in county court. During that time, I barely spoke to anyone. I read horror stories about divorces, but I got lucky. My judge was a woman, and she was fair. My lawyer handled everything. Marisol's lawyer tried to bring up my past, my gang affiliation, as proof I was a bad husband and father. But my lawyer shut it down immediately. The judge even scolded her lawyer for trying to discredit a man who had changed for his family. My lawyer submitted all the evidence and proposed a one-time alimony payout after the sale of the house and business.at first. Marisol begged me to reconsider. I ignored her. Once she realized I wouldn't budge, she agreed. But the real surprise came when it was time to discuss child support. My lawyer presented all of Luna's messages with Marisol, showing she not only knew I wasn't her father, but that she was excited to leave me and live with her real dad. That she was glad the lies were over. Marisol was stunned. Then my lawyer filed a motion to remove my name from Luna's birth certificate, strip her of my last name, and release me from all financial obligations, since all parties admitted my cousin was the biological father. The judge agreed. Marisol was devastated. She screamed, begged me not to do it. Said I was still Luna's father because I raised her, and as sad as it sounds, maybe if Luna hadn't acted the way she did, maybe if she hadn't said what she said, I might have agreed. There were moments I wanted to try and fix everything. But every time I remembered her messages, to her friends, her real father, her mother, I found my resolve again. To this day, I don't know what hurts more, the lies of the woman I thought was the love of my life, or realizing the child I gave everything for threw me away like trash. The judge silently read through every page of the messages. And finally, she agreed. I was freed of all financial responsibility. My name was removed from Luna's documents. My lawyer then filed a motion to seek child support from my cousin, and sued him for fraud for making me raise his daughter without ever helping financially. It was a risky move, but damn it, the judge approved it. I went silent. To stop myself from doing something stupid, I told Marisol I needed to focus on work to pay for our daughter's celebration. But instead, I drove to Manhattan to see my old public defender. He wasn't a public attorney anymore. Now he ran a high-end law firm in Midtown. He was surprised to see me. Apparently, I was his first case back in the day. We sat down, and I told him everything. I handed him the tablet. When he turned it on, the messages kept coming. This time between Luna and my cousin, her biological father. He was begging her to give me a chance, saying I'd always been there for her. But Luna replied that so had he, and now everything would be as it should, that they had so much in common. She called him Dad several times, and he told her she was his little girl. We started discussing options, and he asked me, "What do you want?" I told him I wanted scorched earth. I wanted to destroy them. He asked multiple times if I was sure. I nodded. I also said everything had to be in place by Luna's 15th birthday, which was in 2 weeks. We sat for 12 hours planning every step. I followed his instructions to the letter. I secretly listed my business for sale, called the private school and told them I wouldn't be paying for the next year, closed the college fund, and emptied every savings account I had for Luna. I prepared the house for sale. No one suspected a thing. Everything was executed perfectly, except for one thing I did off script. The party went flawlessly. The whole family was there. Luna was smiling, having fun. Marisol kept asking if I was okay, and I lied. It was hard to lie to her. I had never done that since we met. And for those 2 weeks, every time I kissed or hugged her, it was hard not to scream at her, not to hate her. She knowingly let me raise someone else's child. She slept with my cousin, the man I considered a brother, the godfather of my child, my best man at my wedding, my confidant. So holding back my rage was unbearable. When it came time for the father-daughter dance, I called Luna to the center of the room. She looked annoyed but came up anyway. The music started, and she smiled. That smile, the one I had dreamed of seeing again for years. Now I couldn't even look at it. While we danced, a slideshow played on the screen, pictures of us together, but at the end of the song, the slideshow shifted to screenshots of her conversations with her mother and biological father. It exploded like a bomb. Marisol went pale, like she'd seen a ghost. Luna froze, staring at the giant screen. My cousin looked at me in horror. Marisol ran up to me, saying she could explain. I told her I filed for divorce. Let her explain it in court. She grabbed my hand, begging. I pulled away. I told Luna that I had busted my ass my whole life to give her everything, and she didn't deserve any of it. I turned to leave, but not before telling my cousin that every time I saw him, I'd knock him out. Then I punched him in the face. The consequences were harsh. Marisol and Luna moved in with my grandmother. Marisol's family was shocked and disgusted by her. No one wanted to speak to her. Her father even apologized to me, which was weird, because he always hated me. Even when I turned my life around. To him, I was always trash. But now, when the truth came out, suddenly I was the perfect husband and father. My grandmother had the nerve to tell me a story about Abraham, who returned from war after 3 years and raised a child that wasn't his as his own. She said I should do the same. I told her to get the hell out of my house. A few days later, Marisol came to my door, crying. She said it was a mistake, that when I got arrested, she was furious, and my cousin was just there to comfort her. One thing led to another, but it was only one time. After that, she had been faithful. She said she was willing to take a polygraph to prove it. I asked her how long she'd known Luna wasn't mine. She cried even harder. Her eyes said it all. She knew from the beginning. I told her to leave. She begged to go to family therapy. Said I was overreacting. That we could fix it. That it was all in the past. That I was still Luna's father. No matter what. I let my anger take over. I must have screamed, "Get over it," 20 times. I threw her things out of the house. Called her a lying whore. Said I never wanted to see her face again. Told her the life I built no longer belonged to her. Then shoved her out the door. Weeks passed. She wouldn't stop calling. But Luna, not once. Marisol was shocked when she found out I had sold the business. Even more shocked when she learned I had held an open house for the sale of our home. She burst in, screaming, kicked out the potential buyers, and begged me to stop. Said I was destroying our marriage. That I had no right to sell our house, the house where we raised our child. I told her it was a house full of lies. A house where I raised someone else's kid. And that when I sold it, she'd get her share, then she could leave. Otherwise, I'd call the cops. That was all it took. She knew if she played the victim, they'd take me away. But she didn't. She just gave in. Shortly after, my cousin came to talk. I knocked him out, dragged him out the door, and slammed it shut. He tried to negotiate. Marisol wanted to save the marriage. But I didn't. I wanted a divorce. My lawyer filed for an expedited trial. 3 months later, we were in county court. During that time, I barely spoke to anyone. I read horror stories about divorces, but I got lucky. My judge was a woman, and she was fair. My lawyer handled everything. Marisol's lawyer tried to bring up my past, my gang affiliation, as proof I was a bad husband and father. But my lawyer shut it down immediately. The judge even scolded her lawyer for trying to discredit a man who had changed for his family. My lawyer submitted all the evidence and proposed a one-time alimony payout after the sale of the house and business. At first, Marisol begged me to reconsider. I ignored her. Once she realized I wouldn't budge, she agreed, but the real surprise came when it was time to discuss child support. My lawyer presented all of Luna's messages with Marisol, showing she not only knew I wasn't her father, but that she was excited to leave me and live with her real dad. That she was glad the lies were over. Marisol was stunned. Then my lawyer filed a motion to remove my name from Luna's birth certificate, strip her of my last name, and release me from all financial obligations since all parties admitted my cousin was the biological father. The judge agreed. Marisol was devastated. She screamed, begged me not to do it, said I was still Luna's father because I raised her, and as sad as it sounds, maybe if Luna hadn't acted the way she did, maybe if she hadn't said what she said, I might have agreed. There were moments I wanted to try and fix everything. But every time I remembered her messages, to her friends, her real father, her mother, I found my resolve again. To this day, I don't know what hurts more, the lies of the woman I thought was the love of my life, or realizing the child I gave everything for threw me away like trash. The judge silently read through every page of the messages. And finally, she agreed. I was freed of all financial responsibility. My name was removed from Luna's documents. My lawyer then filed a motion to seek child support from my cousin and sued him for fraud for making me raise his daughter without ever helping financially. It was a risky move, but damn it, the judge approved it. I didn't look at Marisol when the judge announced her decision. I didn't listen to her either when I walked out of the courtroom. I didn't care about her tears, her begging, or her saying it was just one mistake, and that she had been loyal to me ever since. I didn't care anymore. A few weeks later, my ex called me, shocked that I'd stopped paying for Luna's private school and extracurriculars. I told her to call her daughter's real father, and hung up. Even Luna called me, for the first time in all that time. She cried that she'd have to go to public school now, that they were moving back to the old neighborhood, that she was scared and wanted us to be a family again. I told her to go to the man she had chosen to be her father. I yelled at her, told her she had known the truth for years, that I had read all her messages, and that, by her own words, she thanked the universe I wasn't her dad. Then I hung up. I've thought countless times about ending my cousin's life, but instead, I made him pay. He ended up paying me $500,000. $500,000. That was mine and mine alone. Not a cent went to my ex, because she had agreed to a lump sum payment during the divorce. I didn't care that the money came from church funds. I was broken. I left New York soon after I moved to Idaho, as far away from that cursed city as I could. I picked a random state on the map and just left. Opened a new auto repair shop. Bought a house, but for 2 years, I trusted no 1.2 years of therapy. Anger management courses. Rage rooms. It was hard. Then I started going to church again. Ironically, that's where I met my fiancée, Jocelyn. She was amazing. Had just turned 30 when we met, and we clicked right away. I told her everything that had happened. Told her I'd have issues with trust. And she understood. A year later, she told me we were going to be parents. She insisted on a DNA test to give me peace of mind. I had forgotten what happiness felt like. But when my son was born, I was overwhelmed with joy. For the first time in years, I called my grandmother. She cried. And when I told her about my son, she begged me to come to New York so she could see her great-grandchild. She laid the guilt on thick, saying she was 90 and wanted to see me one last time. I agreed. We flew to New York, rented a car, and headed to the old neighborhood. The only thing I hate about the ghetto, one person sees you, and 5 minutes later, the entire neighborhood knows you're back. Grandma saw my son, met Jocelyn. I planned to stay for a week, finally see New York like a tourist. Jocelyn had never been, and I wanted to make it special. Fat chance. First, my ex shouted my name from the street. I looked out the window and was shocked at how much weight she had gained. Grandma told me in Spanish to go speak to her. Jocelyn agreed. So I went downstairs. We stood in silence for a few minutes. Then the rage inside me flared again. Marisol said I looked good. She, on the other hand, not so much. She said she missed me. That since the divorce, she hadn't been with anyone. I ignored her. Then she had the nerve to tell me I was now a grandfather. I looked straight at her. Turned out, Luna had gotten together with a good guy and gotten pregnant at 18. Her boyfriend had joined the Marines to support his family. And her father, my cousin, didn't want anything to do with her. He just paid child support, and that was it. He wasn't a pastor anymore. Now he worked at a bank 2 blocks from there. Then Marisol said Luna had named the baby after me. I felt sick looking at her. She wanted me to wait. Said Luna was on her way to see me, but I just turned and walked away. Went back to my grandma's house. Jocelyn didn't need an explanation. She saw it on my face. We left in a lift. I told her what happened. She just smiled and said everything would be okay, but I couldn't forget the look on Marisol's face as we walked away. She looked at Jocelyn like she was the other woman, and Jocelyn, without hesitation, introduced our son to her, meet his biological child. That was a punch to the gut, and she knew exactly how much pain I was in. Marisol tried to stop me. Said Luna regretted what she did. Jocelyn wanted me to try reconnecting, but I was too angry. I got in the car, ignored Marisol's pleading. Jocelyn said I should make the first move, so I gave my number to Grandma for Luna to call. Then we drove off. A TA red light. I saw my cousin at a food cart. I don't know what came over me. I got out of the car, ran to him, and beat the shit out of him. Jocelyn was screaming, begging me to stop. When our eyes met, I saw fear in hers. I spit on him and walked away. Now I'm home, working, taking care of my son, planning my wedding with an incredible woman. But ever since that trip, when I'm alone with my thoughts, the rage comes back. Luna sent me a picture. She was smiling with her son. Said she was sorry, but I don't know what she's sorry for. That she lost me? Or that the man she chose as her real dad wasn't who she thought? I'm confused. I'm scared to reach out. I want to let go. I want to move forward. Family meant everything to me. And my daughter, she was my whole world. But even after all these years, the pain hasn't gone away. I'm still angry. I know I need to move on, but it's hard. I want to talk to Luna again, but I'm afraid. People tell me to give her a second chance. But in my mind, her words still echo the lies. The endless lies. I need help. My usual ways of coping aren't working anymore. Thanks for listening. Like I said, I don't care if you think this is fake. I don't give a damn, but if you have advice, I'd appreciate it. Update 1: yesterday was Father's Day. Luna tried calling me several times. I looked at my phone. I wanted to answer, but I couldn't. Her old messages kept playing in my head. The things she said to her mother, to her biological father, to her friends. So I ignored the calls. Eventually, I listened to her voicemail. She sounded cheerful. Too cheerful. She quickly apologized for her past behavior, but to me, it didn't sound genuine. Just a formality. Maybe I'm overthinking it. She talked about her son, about her fiancé, and asked me to call her back. A normal request. But it made me furious. My grandma and fiancé both say I should give her a chance, so I asked my grandma, did Luna ever ask about me during those 4 years I was gone? She said no. Only Marisol had asked about me, constantly. But Luna, not once. And in my broken mind, that planted a thought. Maybe Luna wants me back in her life now only because of her baby. Maybe she just wants to squeeze everything she can out of me, and that made me even angrier. Even Marisol keeps calling non-stop. I'm seriously thinking of changing my number. So yeah, I spent Father's Day in the gym, pounding on a punching bag. Today, I have a session with my anger management group. Maybe they'll help me get some perspective on all this. Update 2: I sent Luna a short letter with just one question. What do you want? I didn't expect a long answer, but I got one. She started with endless apologies for how she treated me. She said that when she found out I wasn't her father, she felt angry. She demanded explanations from her mother, and Marisol broke down, in tears, begging Luna to promise she wouldn't tell me. Luna felt lost. She started spending more time with my cousin, her biological father. He told her about my past, about the things I had done, the stuff I had kept from her. That made her even angrier. The more they talked, the more she pulled away from me. Sometimes, she said, she felt ashamed of how she treated me. But my cousin just kept fueling her resentment toward me. On the day of her quinceañera, when we danced, she suddenly realized how badly she had acted. She realized how much I love her, and then the screen lit up with her messages. After that, her maternal relatives told her I needed time, so she listened. She watched as her entire family fell apart because of her, but she didn't know what to do. She said she understood why I did what I did. Her grandfather, Marisol's father, told her I loved her, that I had raised her, and despite everything in her messages, he believed I would do the right thing. During the divorce, her mother fell into depression. She stopped speaking to Luna. She barely ate. She just existed. When Luna found out my name had been removed from her birth certificate, she had a panic attack. Her mother told her, "Now, we have to move back to Brooklyn." Luna asked, "What about my life? My school?" And her mother replied, "That life was your father's gift, but he's no longer your father." That's when Luna called me, begging. And I screamed at her and hung up. She cried for days. She tried finding comfort in my cousin, but he ignored her. Even when she showed up at his church, he told her to leave. Called her a mistake. Her mother rejected her too, locked herself. In a room, only coming out to use the bathroom or shower, Luna begged her grandfather to take her to me. They went to Long Island, but found out I had moved away. He promised to ask my grandma where I was. According to her, those 2 years were. Hell, everyone in the neighborhood knew what had happened. Her father avoided her as much as possible. He even tried to skip child support payments. Only after threats from her grandfather did he start paying. Her mother still didn't speak to her. And on the rare occasions she did, she called her an ungrateful brat. Blamed her for destroying her life. For ruining her love, her grandfather shut her down. Told her she ruined her own life with her affair. After that, Marisol locked herself in her room again. Luna barely came home. That's how she met her baby's father. He worked at a small shop on the corner. They were the same age. After a few months of talking, things got serious. Luna got pregnant. Her grandfather was furious. But the boy said he would marry her, and that softened things a bit. Luna said the pregnancy became a disguised blessing. Her mom started talking to her again. Even came out of her room to go with her to appointments. Her boyfriend joined the Marines. He wanted to get married before deployment, but Luna insisted on a full wedding. He didn't mind naming the child. After me, his own father had never been around. The name he carried reminded him of the man who had rejected him. When Luna found out I was in town, she sped across the city to get to my grandma's place. She wanted to see me, to apologize, to show me her baby. She just wanted to see me, but she was too late. She cried when her mother gave her my number. She wanted to call me right away, but the entire neighborhood was buzzing about how I had beaten up her father, so she waited. Her mother was devastated when she found out I had built a new life, a new family, a son. Luna, on the other hand, was happy she had a baby brother, but her mom sank even deeper into depression. Reading the letter, I felt sorry for Marisol. That I called her. Asked if it was true that she ignored Luna for all those years. If she blamed her for the divorce, she said yes.at first. I screamed at her. But when I heard her sobbing, I calmed down. That I told her it was time to move on. To find someone new. She refused, said I was her husband. That I would always be her husband. That I felt sorry for her again. Then I asked my grandma to check on my cousin. When he heard my voice on the phone, he broke down crying. Begged for forgiveness. That I asked him one question. Why weren't you a father to Luna? Why did you turn her against me? He said, envy. I loved Marisol, and you took her from me. When I got arrested, he comforted her, manipulated her. It only took seconds, and she knew it was a mistake and pushed him away. But the damage was done. When she found out she was pregnant, they both knew whose child it was. They should have kept it a secret. Marisol saw her hysterectomy as divine punishment for her betrayal and her lies. When Luna turned 13, my cousin got drunk and saw the perfect house, wife, and child I had. And envy is a sin he never managed to escape. He wanted to destroy my life. And he did what I told him. When we meet again in hell, I will be your eternal tormentor. And hung up. Jocelyn was beside me. She said, it'll be okay. Update 3. So much has happened in such a short time. First, I want to thank everyone who messaged me with support. Yes, there were haters too. But I'll say this, what you would have done and what I did are two different things. Unless you've lived through it, don't tell me how I should have felt. Right before the wedding, I was on edge. Jocelyn was glowing with happiness. Her family was freaking out about the guest list. I think the whole town showed up for the wedding. Meanwhile, I was more than an hour away, at the airport, waiting for Luna and her family to arrive. The day before their arrival, we had talked a lot. Well, she cried a lot, and I mostly listened. When she finally ran out of tears, I spoke with her fiancé. He seemed like a grounded guy. When their plane landed, I wasn't scared to see her again. I was scared of my own anger. I didn't know if I could hold it together. As soon as Luna saw me in the arrivals hall, she ran straight into my arms, yelling, Dad. For a second, I saw her as that little 7-year-old girl again. It was surreal to see a grown woman in front of me and still picture a child. She clung to me, sobbing. She just kept repeating, I'm sorry, over and over, and I just held her. For more than 15 minutes, she refused to let go. Her fiancé and I were both gently asking her to release me, like she was afraid I'd disappear again if she let go. When she finally calmed down, her fiancé officially introduced himself. Then they introduced me to the baby. I won't lie. I cried, not out of anger, but because I was holding that baby and I just broke. Luna looked exactly like her mother did at 19. It made me think about Marisol. On the way home, I talked to her fiancé about his future in the military. About Luna studying accounting online. It was a normal conversation, like we were just catching up. When we got home, Jocelyn and her family had prepared a real feast to welcome them since we got together. Jocelyn had learned to cook Spanish food. But that week before Luna arrived, she went overboard. And I get it, she wanted to make an impression. Jocelyn and Luna immediately clicked. Every few minutes, Luna would come over, give me a quick hug, and run back to Jocelyn. Meanwhile, I just sat there holding my son and my grandson, while Jocelyn introduced Luna to her family. I put the kids to bed and stepped out onto the porch to breathe. Luna's fiancé was at the edge of the yard, watching the bison grazing nearby. For a second, I wanted to give him a dad talk, but then I realized I didn't have that right. Instead, I asked what he thought of the view. He was stunned. I know that feeling. When you grow up in the city, open space feels surreal. After a moment, he looked at me and said, Luna really regrets what she did. I've been with her for 3 years, and not a single day goes by without her saying how much she misses you and how sorry she is. Of everything he said, that's the part one keep hearing in my head. His name is Roberto. He's only 19, but he speaks and acts like a 30-year-old. I know what that means. It means life forced him to grow up too early. I know how painful that is. The next day, I had to stop by the garage. Luna literally jumped in the car with the baby. Even Roberto told her it was okay. She should just enjoy the time with me. She looked like she was about to have a panic attack from excitement and nerves. I told her we'd only work a half day, then I'd spend the rest of it with her. That seemed to calm her down a little. And I started realizing just how deeply traumatized she was. On the way, I asked Roberto how bad it really was. He said she has serious psychological issues. She's constantly afraid he'll leave her, even though he reassures her all the time. She calls him frequently, sometimes becomes too clingy. In the beginning, she couldn't even be alone because she was convinced he'd abandon her. He said he has to constantly prove he loves her, just so she can feel a little bit safe. That's on me. I know it is, but Roberto doesn't blame me. He said he understands exactly why I did what I did. Honestly, Roberto is a terrible mechanic. He doesn't know a thing about cars. So I gave him a job cleaning up the shop to pay off the cost of the plane tickets. We closed early that day. When we got home, Luna practically jumped into my arms. She looked like she was on the verge of a breakdown. I told her I'd be back soon, and she went to find Roberto. When I walked into the house, Jocelyn immediately said, Luna needs a reminder that everything is okay now. That you're not going anywhere. I didn't know what to say, but Jocelyn took my hands and said, she's hurting. She needs her dad. Update 4 inches the following days. I spent all my time with Luna, slowly getting to know her again. I took her to the ranch to meet my relatives. Showed her the bison and deer. We even went hiking. 2 days before the wedding, I apologized to her for leaving, for how I acted, for the decisions I made. But she didn't want to hear it. She said I had nothing to apologize for. That she knew it was her fault everything fell apart. That she was to blame. I had to stop her. I broke down crying. I told her it wasn't her fault. Yes, I was angry. Yes, I was hurt. But no matter what, I should have handled things differently. We both cried. Luna looked much better on the day of my wedding. She was glowing with happiness. A tea the last minute. Jocelyn made her a bridesmaid. And Roberto became my best man. The wedding was beautiful. Tea the reception. I asked the DJ to play the same song we had danced to her quinceañera. I invited Luna to dance. She cried through the entire dance, clinging to me like I might disappear. Again, I hadn't been that happy in a very, very long time. After the wedding, I let Luna and Roberto stay in my house to take care of my son while Jocelyn and I went on our honeymoon to Hawaii. When we returned, Luna looked happy. They hugged us. It felt amazing. Roberto told me he was being deployed to Afghanistan and asked if Luna could stay with us. He was willing to pay for an apartment nearby until he could buy a house. Of course, I said yes. They left town 2 days ago. Like I said, a lot has happened. Lately. Luna's wedding is in November. Roberto ships out in December. He already wired me the full amount for a year's rent at a housing complex 5 kilometers from our place. But Jocelyn had another idea. She suggested we set up a mobile home on our property for Luna, so she could save money for her own place by the time Roberto comes back. Marisol's been blowing up my phone. Judging by her messages, She's not thrilled that Luna is moving here, but right now, my focus is on my family and rebuilding my relationship with my daughter, possibly the last update. I waited for Luna to return from her honeymoon before. I showed her this post. Our therapist encouraged total transparency, and I wanted to be sure she was okay with me sharing further details, because this wasn't just about me anymore. She read the post. But I didn't let her see the hateful comments. She cried a lot while reading it, but she didn't object to me sharing another update. Then tragedy struck. My grandmother passed away, and I had to delay posting this. Now let me tell you what's happened since the point I left off. Jocelyn and I set up a mobile home on our property, prepared everything for Luna and Roberto. Many people have asked, why was Jocelyn so insistent on reconciliation? At first, she simply didn't want my unresolved anger to affect our family. She wanted me to make peace with myself, for our sake. And I'm grateful for that. As I mentioned, Marisol kept calling me. The day Luna left New York, I finally answered. She was crying, angry, accusing me of taking her daughter and grandson from her. I tried to explain that I just wanted to reconnect with Luna. Within seconds, she started asking when I was going to reconnect with her. I had to tell her it was never going to happen. She burst into tears and hung up. Luna and Roberto loved the new home. First thing Roberto did? He started paying me back for everything. I told him it wasn't necessary, but he insisted. And I appreciated that. A few days later, Luna and I had our first joint therapy session. I learned she's on a lot of medication for anxiety. She suffers from chronic panic attacks. One thing I feel okay sharing publicly is that Luna truly regrets everything. She's been through years of emotional and verbal abuse from her mother. My cousin destroyed her mentally, and as hard as it is to admit, so did I. 2 weeks after they moved in, Roberto got orders for early deployment. They had to move the wedding date up. First, Luna wanted to wait until he returned. But Roberto insisted on getting married before leaving Jocelyn, and I offered to pay for the wedding. But Luna said she only needed one thing, that I walk her down the aisle. Many people have asked if I ever did a DNA test, since the court never ordered one. Everything was based on circumstantial evidence. Let me say it clearly, there's no need. Luna is blood type O positive. I'm AB negative. Marisol is B positive. My cousin is O positive. Yes, biologically, she's not mine, but despite everything, Luna is my daughter. I only regret that I let my rage blind me for so long. The wedding was small. We held it on Jocelyn's family ranch. We invited my former father-in-law, Roberto's mom, my grandmother, and yes, even Marisol. Only 2 of them showed up. Grandma couldn't travel. Her health had declined. And Marisol ended up in the hospital due to her own doing. Luna took that news hard. I was angry at Marisol. She expected Luna to return to New York and take care of her. A few weeks before the wedding, I found out Jocelyn and I were expecting another baby. I was over the moon. Roberto had recently learned the hard way how tricky horses can be, so I started teaching him about cars instead. I like the kid. The day before the wedding, my former father-in-law and Roberto's mom arrived. She turned out to be a lovely woman. I told her she had raised a good son. The old man was reserved as always, but eventually told me he was disappointed I had left, though he understood why. The only thing he wanted was for his daughter, Marisol, to finally let go of the past. On the wedding day, Jocelyn was one of Luna's bridesmaids, and I fought back tears walking her down the aisle. It was hard, harder for her to the reception. We played our song again, the one from her 15th birthday, and danced. Once again, she clung to me like I might vanish. For those who asked, the song was Cinderella by Stephen Curtis Chapman. After their honeymoon, life slowly returned to normal. I had planned to write this update, but a few days before their return, my grandmother died. It hit me harder than I expected. She wasn't just my grandmother. She was my mother. As I've said, I don't remember my parents. They died in a car crash when I was a baby. That same crash also killed my cousin's parents. She raised us both. Update 5. It's been a year since my first post. Before I begin, I want to thank all of you, even the haters. A year ago, I was in a very dark place, angry, lost, depressed, but this community, it helped me. You helped me get my daughter back. You helped me get my life back. This past year has been amazing, though not without its ups and downs. I had another son. And Jocelyn wants to try for one more. I'm going to be a grandpa again. Luna is 2 months pregnant. My son-in-law has applied for officer training. I really hope he gets in. Luna is doing better. Slowly, but surely, after her psychologist started exposure therapy, things got harder at first. Her panic attacks became more intense. But then, they started to fade. Our joint therapy sessions were difficult. At first, I had to sit and listen to everything she had been through. She owned up to her mistakes. I owned up to mine.m why relatives on the ranch started teaching her how to work with animals. She feeds the horses, lays out hay. My mother-in-law is teaching her how to herd the bison, and honestly, it warms my heart to see her on horseback. She glows in those moments. She and Jocelyn have a mother-daughter dynamic. Watching Jocelyn care for her, it's incredible that I am blessed to be married to such an amazing woman. When we first met, Jocelyn had just escaped an abusive relationship. She had a black eye and bruises on her neck that I offered to fix 3 tractors for her father, for free. Her ex had sabotaged them by pouring sugar and salt into the gas tanks to tea first. I kept my distance, but she brought me food. We talked, got to know each other. A month later, we had our first kiss. It was wonderful that I took her out to dinner. A few days later, her ex showed up at my garage, tried to intimidate me. Ended up being the one who left scared.in the first week of May. My former father-in-law died and I was terrified that Luna would spiral into depression again. But she stayed strong thanks to Roberto. That man has changed her life in ways I can't repay. We all flew to New York for the funeral. His coffin was draped in the Puerto Rican flag. Above it hung a banner that read, "Don't mourn me, celebrate my life." He wore a light vanilla-colored suit. I couldn't help but smile. Marisol was there, but she just stared blankly. Like her mind had shut off. When Luna or I sat next to her, she'd start to speak, then go silent again. On the second day of the funeral, her therapist told us Marisol was stuck in time. Mentally, she hadn't moved on from the years when she was happiest. After Luna stepped away, the therapist pulled me aside and said something horrifying. She believed my cousin may have forced himself on Marisol, that her mind had protected her from the trauma by rationalizing it, by convincing herself it was a mistake. A moment of weakness. That floored me. I told Jocelyn what the therapist said, and she was just as shaken. She insisted I tell Luna, but I was terrified. Luna had made so much progress. I didn't want to break her again. So instead, we spoke. With Roberto first. His first instinct was to find my cousin and end him. But I stopped him. Later, we sat down with Luna as a family. We told her that was a terrible night. A very bad night. 2 days later, during the funeral, my cousin showed up, uninvited. And drunk. He caused a scene. All I wanted in that moment was to finish him off, but I told him to leave. Roberto held me back as my cousin yelled that he had always been better than me. That I owed my life to him and his daughter. That it was because of them I had changed. That I should thank him. I lost it. I literally lifted Roberto off the ground trying to get past him. But before I could do anything, Luna punched my cousin in the face and kept hitting him. She was crying, screaming, furious that I froze. Roberto pulled her back as my cousin tried to get up. Jocelyn stepped forward and knocked him out with a single punch, broke her finger doing it before heading back to Idaho. We all sat down and decided to move Marisol into a psychiatric clinic near us, because she had no one else. We are still in therapy. Luna is trying to accept the idea that she might be the result of rape. Before all this, I had planned to readopt her, since, legally, I was no longer her father. But now's not the time. I'll answer any questions in the comments. I owe a lot to this community. God bless you all. Update 6. Hey everyone. It's been a while, and I just want to say thank you. My family keeps growing. I now have 2 grandkids, a boy and a girl, 2 sons, and another daughter on the way. For a while, I was struggling with guilt again. Fell into a light depression. After learning what came out during Marisol's hypnotherapy, she had said no twice, then froze for almost a minute, then begged him to stop. Only after that did my cousin finish and get off her. The therapist said that afterward, Marisol curled up into a ball and repeated over and over, "It's my fault. It's my fault." She convinced herself it was just a mistake. That thought haunted me. I blamed myself. I blamed my cousin. I ran every scenario in my head. What if? What could I have done? Why didn't I see it? The truth is, I never noticed it before. But now, everything is crystal clear. When he was in our home, Marisol never stayed in a room alone with him. In the months that followed, Luna and I continued therapy with Marisol, and during one of those sessions, the therapist asked me, "What would you have done if Marisol had told you the truth the day you got out of jail?" Honestly, I would have killed him. If she had told me. A few years later, I would have beaten him within an inch of his life, and if she told me the day of Luna's 15th birthday, at first, I wouldn't have believed her. Then I would have started digging, asking questions, looking for proof, and in the state I was in back then, I would have sent him straight to the hospital. But I wouldn't have run away from the city. Things would have turned out differently. With time, Marisol became more lucid. She cried a lot. Apologized, to me and to Luna. Eventually, she confessed that after her operation, realizing she could never give me another child, she devoted herself to being the perfect wife, and when I left, she couldn't see Luna as her daughter anymore. All she saw was my cousin. Did I ask her why she kept letting him into our house? She said that in a way, he was like a brother to me. I spoke highly of him, sought his advice, admired him, especially when he became a pastor. So in her mind, he was just a mistake. A one-time lapse. That's why she avoided him as much as she could. After these conversations, Luna's panic attacks came back. Worse than before, but now, she's doing better. Last month, I officially readopted her. That was my birthday gift to her. She couldn't stop crying. Said she'd never been so happy in her life. As for my cousin, I heard he moved to Puerto Rico after getting fired. The bank couldn't keep him anymore. Too many people kept showing up, causing scenes. We placed a new trailer near Luna's home for Marisol. She was discharged from the psychiatric hospital in mid-March. First, it was incredibly awkward. I've seen movies where the ex-wife and current wife live peacefully side by side. That's TV. Real life is different. Jocelyn was polite, but drew very clear boundaries. Marisol told us she didn't want to live with us, just near us. She said being a mother and grandmother was enough. She didn't expect more. She wanted us to remain friends, but at a distance. I respect that. Still, there were some clashes. Jocelyn and Marisol bumped heads a few times, mostly about raising the kids and cooking styles. My relatives felt as awkward as I did. What made things even more complicated? Jocelyn's brother clearly has a thing for Marisol. Jocelyn actually slapped him on the back of the head to wake him up. Didn't work. He's 2 years older than me. A widower, raising 3 daughters on his own. He's a good man. But lately, he's been hanging around our property way too often just to talk to Marisol. It doesn't bother me. But Jocelyn is protective of her brother. She's worried that if they start dating, it won't be genuine. I understand her concerns. At Luna's birthday, a small incident happened. After I handed her the readoption papers and we danced, I had a dance with Jocelyn too. Then, after dancing with Roberto and Jocelyn's brother, Marisol walked up to me, wanting a dance. I politely declined. That hurt Jocelyn. It triggered a bit of possessiveness. On Easter, while we were watching the kids hunt for eggs, I overheard Marisol say to Jocelyn, "I envy you. I envy that you were able to give him children." Jocelyn calmly replied, "Luna is his daughter, no matter the circumstances. And you must always remember that." Marisol broke down in tears. That was the first time I saw them begin to find common ground. So that's where things stand for now. I hope, in time, everything finds its balance. Update 7. I didn't plan on writing again, but this community's been with me through the worst moments of my life. And I think I owe you the ending, not the kind of ending from movies. Just peace. A few months ago, I started receiving letters from my cousin. They were sent through his church's address. The first one apologized. The second one blamed me. The third one begged me to forgive him. The fourth one detailed how he's been punished enough. Each letter made me nauseous. I didn't reply. In the fifth letter, he said that if I didn't respond, he'd come visit. Try to make peace face to face. That's when I called his church and made sure they understood what kind of man he was. They cut ties immediately. His sixth letter was full of rage, full of claims that I had stolen everything from him. He said I didn't deserve a second chance. He said I would never be a real father to Luna, that I was living a lie. I didn't finish reading it. I burned it in our fireplace. Jocelyn saw me, but didn't say anything. A few days later, Luna brought me something she'd made in therapy. It was a painting of me holding her hand when she was little, and the same adult version of her holding my hand now. In the background were 3 figures, Jocelyn, Roberto, and my grandmother. There were little golden lines drawn between us, all connected to a single word in the center, healing. Luna told me that even if she had been born from pain, she chose love, that she saw her children growing up in a safe home, that she would give them the peace she never had, and she thanked me for being her dad twice. That night, I cried like I hadn't in years. Jocelyn held me in silence. My youngest son, who's only 1, came toddling into the room with a blanket. He didn't understand, but he knew something was wrong. He tried to comfort me, and I felt something shift. A release. All my anger, all the pain, melted away. My cousin doesn't matter. He's gone. Dead to me. What matters is this: I have a family, a daughter, a son-in-law. grandkids, a wife, sons.I, have peace. I still go to therapy. So does Luna. So does Marisol. Jocelyn's brother is still trying to charm Marisol, and she doesn't seem opposed, but that's their story. This is mine. To anyone reading this, forgiveness is not forgetting. It's choosing peace over vengeance. It's choosing to live, not survive. And to Luna, if you ever read this, I love you. Then, now, always, you are my daughter. No one can change that. Well, that's all. Write your opinion in the comments. Watch our previous video. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if for some reason you haven't done so yet. And good luck to you.